Katie Rowan was just a tired young waitress closing up her shift on a stormy night when she heard crying in the alley. Her brown hair hung in a messy bun, apron frayed from another double shift. She lived alone above the diner. No family, no safety net, just dreams that didn't pay rent. She turned toward the door when a cry pierced the storm. Katie froze. Another cry, desperate and small. Heart pounding, she rushed outside into the downpour. Behind the dumpster sat a wicker basket. Inside, two newborn babies wrapped in mismatched blankets, each marked with embroidered initials, A and M. Beneath them, a torn photograph of a smiling woman. No note, no explanation. One baby's fingers wrapped around hers. Katie's breath caught. She should call someone. Do the right thing. Instead, she gathered them close, rain soaking through her uniform. "I've got you," she whispered. The door closed softly. Her old life stayed outside. Welcome to Life in Stories, where every tale reminds us that hope survives even the darkest nights. If this story touches your heart, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new chapter. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from today? Let's begin. Rain hammered against the windows of Moonlight Diner like bullets, relentless and angry. Lightning split the sky over Brookhaven, illuminating the empty parking lot in sharp white flashes. Inside, Katie Rowan moved between tables with mechanical precision, her body running on fumes and cheap coffee. The clock above the register read 11:47 p.m. 13 hours. She'd been on her feet for 13 hours straight, covering Maria's shift after the older waitress called in sick. Again. Katie didn't complain. She couldn't afford to. The tips from a Thursday night barely covered groceries, and her landlord didn't accept excuses with rent. She was 23 and alone in a way that felt permanent. Her parents died in a car accident when she was 19. Quick, brutal, final. No siblings. No aunts who called. No grandparents left to worry. Just Katie, a high school diploma and a studio apartment above a diner that smelled like grease and burnt toast. She wiped down the last booth, her reflection ghostly in the rain-streaked window, brown hair escaping a messy bun, dark circles under hazel eyes, an apron with someone else's ketchup stain still visible despite 3 washes. Dreams felt like luxuries now. She'd wanted to be a nurse once, had filled out the application to Brookhaven Community College, even saved $200 toward the enrollment fee. That money went to fixing her car transmission instead. Then her landlord raised rent. Then winter came early and heating bills doubled. The nursing school brochure still sat in her drawer, edges worn from being unfolded and refolded too many times. Katie grabbed the mop, her sneakers squeaking against the black and white checkered floor. Thunder rumbled, deep and threatening, shaking the building's old bones. She glanced toward the door, grateful nobody else was out in this weather. She was emptying the mop bucket in the back hallway when she heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the storm. Katie stilled, water dripping from the mop head. There it was again, faint, fragile, almost swallowed by the wind. Crying. Her heart kicked hard against her ribs. She dropped the mop and moved toward the back door, pressing her ear against the cold metal. The sound came again, clearer now. Not one voice, but 2. High-pitched, desperate. Babies. Katie's hands shook as she unlocked the door and shoved it open. Rain slapped her face immediately, soaking through her uniform in seconds. Wind tore at her hair. She squinted into the darkness, barely able to see past the dumpster. "Hello?" Her voice disappeared into the storm. The crying grew louder. She stumbled forward, rain filling her shoes, her breath coming fast and shallow. Lightning flashed and she saw it, a wicker basket tucked against the brick wall, partially hidden by stacked pallets. Katie dropped to her knees in a puddle, her hands reaching before her mind could catch up. Inside the basket were 2 infants, newborns, days old, maybe hours. Their faces were red and scrunched, mouths open in silent screams between gasping breaths. They were wrapped in blankets, one faded pink, one teal, both soaked through. Tiny fists trembled against the cold. "Oh my God," Katie breathed. "Oh my God! Oh my God!" She pulled the basket toward her, shielding it with her body. Rain pounded her back. Thunder cracked overhead. The babies wailed, their cries cutting straight through her chest. Each blanket had something embroidered near the corner. Katie's fingers traced the stitching, barely visible in the dim light from the diner. The letter A on one, the letter M on the other. Her throat tightened. She looked beneath the blankets and found it, a torn photograph, wrinkled and damp. Half of a woman's face smiled up at her, frozen in some lost moment of happiness. The other half was missing, ripped cleanly away. No note, no names, no explanation, just two fragile lives left to die in a storm. Katie's vision blurred. She didn't know if it was rain or tears. Her hands moved on instinct, gathering both babies against her chest, tucking them inside her open jacket. Their warmth, so small, so terrifyingly real, pressed against her heart. She should call the police, report this, let the system handle it. But one baby's fingers brushed her collarbone, gripping weakly at her wet uniform. The other whimpered, a sound so broken it felt like glass in Katie's lungs. "I've got you," she whispered, voice cracking. "I've got you both." She stood, cradling them carefully, and ran back inside. The diner felt impossibly warm after the cold. Katie kicked the door shut and moved toward the kitchen, her whole body shaking. She set the basket on the counter and gently unwrapped the blankets. Both babies were girls, impossibly tiny, skin pale and lips faintly blue. Panic surged. Katie grabbed clean dish towels, wrapping them carefully around each baby, her hands clumsy but desperate. She turned the oven on low and cracked the door, letting warmth flood the kitchen. She filled a plastic basin with lukewarm water and used a clean cloth to wipe their faces, whispering the entire time. "You're okay. You're safe now. I promise." She called 911 at 12:03 a.m. The dispatcher's voice was calm and clinical. Police came first, then paramedics, then a social worker with a tired face and a clipboard. They asked questions Katie couldn't answer. They took photos. They searched the alley. Nobody found anything. No witnesses, no footprints, no surveillance cameras that worked. The babies were medically cleared, miraculously healthy despite exposure. The social worker said they'd go into emergency foster care while the state investigated. Katie's voice surprised her with its steadiness. "I'll take them." 3 weeks of interviews, background checks, and home inspections followed. Katie's studio apartment barely passed inspection. Her income was questioned. Her age was noted with concern. But nobody else came forward. No parents, no family, no explanation. On a gray afternoon in late November, Katie became their legal temporary guardian. She named them that same day, standing in her tiny kitchen with both babies sleeping in a borrowed crib. Aria, gentle and wide-eyed, always watching. Mila, loud and restless, always fighting sleep. Katie leaned over the crib, her finger tracing their impossibly soft cheeks. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of an unbreakable vow. "You'll never be abandoned again. Not while I'm breathing." Katie named them on a Tuesday morning while snow dusted the diner's windows. Aria Rowan, for the baby who watched everything with quiet, curious eyes, eyes that seemed to absorb the world like music. Mila Rowan, for the one who screamed at 3 a.m. with the fury of someone who refused to be ignored. Both carried Katie's last name now. Both wore second-hand onesies from the church donation box. Both had stolen every piece of Katie's heart she didn't know existed. Motherhood arrived without a manual. The first week, Katie learned to heat bottles with one hand while folding laundry with the other. She discovered that babies could sense fear, Mila especially, who wailed louder whenever Katie's hands shook from exhaustion. She mastered the art of sleeping sitting up, her back against the headboard, one baby on each side of her lap. She failed more than she succeeded. Aria developed a rash Katie didn't recognize. She called the pediatric nurse hotline at midnight, crying harder than the baby. Mila refused bottles for 2 days straight, and Katie nearly drove herself insane Googling symptoms. The apartment flooded when she forgot to turn off the bath while soothing a screaming infant. But slowly, impossibly, they became a rhythm. Katie's life split into 2 shifts. Days at the diner, serving coffee, clearing plates, smiling through exhaustion. Nights at home, bottles, diapers, lullabies sung off-key, stolen hours of sleep that never felt like enough. Her body learned to function on 4 hours of rest. Her hands grew steady, her instincts sharpened. The nursing school acceptance letter arrived 3 months after the twins came into her life. Katie held it for a long time, reading the words over and over. Congratulations. Enrollment begins January 10th. She put Aria and Mila down for their nap, sat at her tiny kitchen table, and cried silently for 20 minutes. Then she wrote the email withdrawing her application. She didn't regret it. Not once. But sometimes, late at night, when both girls finally slept and the apartment was quiet, Katie let herself mourn the version of her life that would never happen. The career, the stability, the pride of wearing scrubs with her name embroidered above the pocket. She folded that dream carefully and put it away, the same way she'd tucked the torn photograph into her dresser drawer. Some sacrifices didn't need an audience. By the time the twins turned 2, Moonlight Diner had become their second home. The owner, Frank Delgado, a 60-year-old man with a beer belly and a soft heart, let Katie bring them to work when daycare fell through. He set up a corner booth with crayons, coloring books, and a house rule. The twins ate free, always. The regulars fell in love immediately. Martin, a truck driver with tattooed forearms, brought them matching teddy bears from a rest stop in Pennsylvania. Mrs. Chen, a retired teacher, donated a box of educational toys and spent her Tuesday mornings teaching Aria her ABCs. Deputy Wallace slipped Katie $20 bills folded into napkins, pretending he'd found them on the floor. For the girls, he'd say gruffly, refusing to make eye contact. The diner became a village. When Mila's winter coat didn't fit anymore, someone left a new one by the register. When Aria needed glasses after a preschool vision screening, an anonymous envelope appeared in Katie's locker with $300 and a note. Every kid deserves to see clearly. Katie cried in the walk-in freezer for 5 minutes, overwhelmed by the kindness of strangers who'd become family. Life wasn't easy, but it was warm. The twins grew wild and loud and fearless. Aria developed a love for books, carrying them everywhere, demanding stories before bed even when Katie's voice cracked from exhaustion. Mila climbed everything, chairs, counters, Frank's back when he wasn't looking, laughing like gravity was optional. They looked nothing alike. Aria had delicate features, light brown hair that curled at the ends, a shy smile. Mila was all sharp edges, dark hair, bold eyes, a grin that promised trouble. But they were inseparable. Katie watched them grow and wondered constantly about the woman in the photograph. Late nights, after the girls were asleep, she'd pull the torn picture from her drawer and study it, half a face, a smile frozen mid-laugh. No context, no answers. Who was she? A mother? A sister? Why did she leave them in the rain? Was she desperate? Scared? Did she think about them every day, or had she moved on? Katie turned the questions over endlessly, but they never led anywhere. Sometimes she noticed things that made her uneasy. A rusted sedan parked across the street 3 nights in a row. Always late. Always idling. She'd glance out her window, and it would pull away moments later. Once she saw someone standing under the street lamp outside the diner, face hidden by a hood, watching the building. When she stepped outside, they disappeared. Frank told her she was paranoid. Small town. People park, people walk. You're working too hard, Katie. Maybe he was right. She pushed the unease down and focused on what mattered: Arya's preschool enrollment, Mila's doctor's appointment, the electric bill due Friday. 4 years passed like this. Hard and beautiful, exhausting and full. On a quiet Sunday night, Katie tucked both girls into the twin bed they insisted on sharing. Arya clutched a stuffed rabbit. Mila's arm draped across her sister's stomach possessively. Katie knelt beside them, brushing hair from their foreheads. Arya's sleepy voice broke the silence. "Mommy, did you pick us?" Katie's throat tightened. "Yes, baby." "Why?" She thought about the rain, the basket, the way Mila's fingers had gripped hers that first night. "Because love isn't something you plan," Katie whispered. "It's something you choose every single day." Mila mumbled something incoherent. Arya smiled and closed her eyes. Katie stayed there, kneeling in the dark, her hand resting on their backs. "I wasn't chosen by blood," she said softly, "but I was chosen by love. And that's enough." Outside, snow began to fall. Across the street, hidden in shadow, the rusted sedan's engine turned over quietly and disappeared into the night. Thursday mornings at Moonlight Diner moved like controlled chaos, loud, messy, and somehow perfect. Katie balanced 3 plates on her left arm while refilling coffee with her right, her body moving through the rhythm it had memorized over 4 years. The breakfast rush hit hardest between 7 and 9, when construction crews, teachers, and retirees filled every booth. In the corner, Arya and Mila occupied their usual spot. Arya colored carefully inside the lines of a butterfly picture, tongue poking out in concentration. Mila had abandoned her crayons entirely and was building a tower from sugar packets, humming loudly. "Mila, baby, those aren't toys," Katie called over her shoulder. "They are now," Mila announced, adding another packet to her precarious structure. Frank chuckled from behind the grill. "Kids got vision." Katie rolled her eyes but smiled. The girls were 4 now, bold, bright, impossible to imagine life without. Arya started pre-K in the fall. Mila was already reading at a first-grade level, though she pretended not to when it suited her. The bell above the door chimed. Katie glanced up out of habit, then froze. 3 black SUVs idled in the parking lot, sleek and expensive, completely out of place against the diner's faded paint and cracked asphalt. A man stepped through the door, tall, mid-30s, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Katie's rent. Lincoln Stratton. She recognized him vaguely from news articles. Billionaire tech investor, CEO of Stratton Innovations, the kind of man who appeared on magazine covers and never ate at roadside diners. He moved quietly to a corner booth, his posture rigid, his expression carefully blank. 2 men in dark suits lingered near the door. Security, Katie realized. She grabbed a coffee pot and approached, suddenly aware of the ketchup stain on her apron. "Morning. Coffee?" Lincoln looked up. His eyes were gray, sharp, but deeply tired, like someone who hadn't slept well in years. "Please." His voice was low, controlled. Katie poured, her hands steady despite her nerves. "Menus on the table. Special today is blueberry pancakes." He nodded without looking at it. She turned to leave when small footsteps pattered across the floor. "Mila, no," Katie started, but it was too late. Mila stopped directly beside Lincoln's booth, hands on her hips, staring at him with unfiltered curiosity. Arya followed more cautiously, clutching her coloring book. Lincoln blinked, clearly caught off guard. "You look sad," Mila declared, her voice loud enough to turn heads. Katie's face flushed. "Girls, come back to—" "It's fine," Lincoln interrupted quietly. Arya stepped closer, her voice softer than her sister's. "You look like someone who needs pancakes." She tilted her head thoughtfully. "Pancakes help." For a moment, Lincoln just stared at them. Then something shifted in his face, something unguarded and raw, and he laughed. Actually, laughed. The sound was rusty, like something he'd forgotten how to do. Maybe you're right, he said gently. Mila grinned, triumphant. Arya touched his hand briefly, a gesture so natural and kind it made Katie's chest ache. Come on, you two, Katie said softly, guiding them back toward their booth. Let the man eat in peace. But Lincoln's gaze followed them. Katie noticed the exact moment his expression changed. His eyes locked onto something and his entire body went rigid. The color drained from his face. His hand gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white. Katie followed his line of sight. The twins' backpacks hung on hooks beside their booth, bright pink and purple, covered in stickers. But embroidered neatly on each strap were their initials. A on Arya's, M on Mila's. Lincoln's breathing turned shallow. Katie frowned, uneasy crawling up her spine. She stepped toward him. Sir, are you okay? He didn't answer. His eyes moved from the backpacks to the girls themselves, studying their faces, their hair, the way Arya's nose crinkled when she smiled. Then he stood abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. I need to go. He dropped $200 bills on the table without waiting for change and walked out, his security scrambling to follow. Katie stared after him, confused and unsettled. Across the diner, Mila shrugged. Weird guy? Lincoln sat in the back of his SUV, hands shaking violently. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The world tilted sideways, and suddenly he was back in that hospital 4 years ago, staring at a doctor who wouldn't meet his eyes. Mr. Stratton, I'm so sorry. The fire. There was nothing we could do. His wife, Delilah, had died 2 days after giving birth. Complications, sudden, irreversible. The twins, his daughters, had been at home with a nanny when the fire started. Electrical malfunction, the investigators said. The entire nursery consumed. They found 2 silver name bracelets in the ashes. Arya, Mila. No bodies. The flames had been too intense. Lincoln buried 2 empty caskets and spent the next 4 years drowning in guilt, grief, and unanswered questions. He hired private investigators, reviewed footage, interrogated staff. Nothing. Until today. Until 2 little girls with his wife's eyes and his mother's smile walked up to him in a diner wearing backpacks embroidered with their names. Sir? His head of security leaned forward. Are you? Run a background check, Lincoln said hoarsely. On the waitress, Katie Rowan. I want everything. How deep? Everything. By that evening, Lincoln had answers. Katie Rowan, 27. No criminal record. No children listed until 4 years ago. No official adoption paperwork accessible publicly. Worked at Moonlight Diner since she was 19. Parents deceased. No living relatives. The twins appeared in her life exactly 4 years ago. The same week his daughters allegedly died. Lincoln pulled up security footage his team had quietly obtained from the diner's exterior camera. The timestamp read 7:42 a.m. The twins ran toward Katie, arms outstretched, voices bright and clear. Mommy! Katie scooped them up, laughing, kissing their foreheads. Lincoln's hands trembled. She didn't look like a kidnapper. She looked like a mother. But those were his daughters. He was certain. 2 days later, Lincoln returned to Moonlight Diner. This time, no security, no suit, just jeans and a jacket trying to blend in. Katie was refilling napkin dispensers when he slid into a booth. She looked up, surprised. Back for those pancakes? She asked carefully. Lincoln met her eyes. Actually, I wanted to talk. About the girls. Katie's smile faltered. Her body language shifted instantly, protective, guarded. What about them? How long have you had them? Her jaw tightened. Why? Lincoln chose his words carefully. Because I think I might know who they are? Silence. Katie's face went pale. Her hands gripped the napkin holder so hard her knuckles whitened. I don't know what you're talking about. The initials, A and M, Arya and Mila. His voice cracked. Katie's breath hitched. Across the diner, Aria looked up from her coloring book, sensing tension. Lincoln leaned forward, his voice urgent but not unkind. "Please. I'm not here to hurt anyone. I just need to know the truth." Katie stared at him for a long moment, 1,000 emotions flickering across her face. Fear, anger, grief, something that looked like understanding. Finally, she whispered, "We need to talk, but not here." Lincoln nodded. Outside, snow began to fall again, soft and silent. And somewhere across town, in a rusted sedan parked in shadow, a man watched the diner through binoculars, his expression twisted with something dark and desperate. The diner closed at 9. By 9:15, Katie had locked the doors, sent Frank home, and sat across from Lincoln Stratton in the same booth where her daughters had insisted he needed pancakes. Her hands trembled around her coffee mug. Lincoln looked different without the suit, younger, more vulnerable. His eyes held a desperate kind of hope that terrified her. "Where did you find them?" His voice was barely above a whisper. Katie's throat tightened. She'd known this conversation was coming the moment he said their names. She told him everything: the storm, the basket, the embroidered initials, the torn photograph she still kept in her drawer. "I called the police immediately," she said, voice shaking. "I did everything right. Nobody came for them. Nobody." Lincoln's face crumpled. He pressed his palms against his eyes, shoulders shaking with silent sobs that seemed to tear through him. Katie sat frozen, watching a billionaire break apart in her diner booth. "I thought they were dead," he choked out. "The fire. They told me the fire took everything. I buried empty caskets, Katie. I've spent 4 years believing I failed them." Katie's own tears spilled over. "The photograph." "My wife, Delilah." Lincoln pulled out his phone with trembling hands, showing her a complete version of the same picture. The missing half showed a man, younger, happier, holding Delilah close. "She died 2 days after giving birth. Complications. Then the house fire. I lost everything in 1 week." "I'm so sorry," Katie whispered. Lincoln looked up, his gray eyes red-rimmed but focused. "You saved them. When someone tried to erase them from existence, you brought them back to life." "What do you mean, someone tried?" "I'm going to find out who. I promise you." Katie's breath caught. "Are you going to take them away from me?" The question hung between them like broken glass. Lincoln moved slowly, deliberately, sliding out of the booth and kneeling beside her chair. His voice was raw but steady. "You've been their mother. You fed them, protected them, loved them when the world had abandoned them. I don't want to replace that." He paused, searching for the right words. "I want to be part of it, if you'll let me." Katie covered her mouth, sobs breaking through. "They need you," Lincoln continued. "And honestly, I think I do too. Not to take over, just to be present, to know them, to help." Katie nodded, unable to speak. Outside, snow continued to fall, quiet and constant. Lincoln hired the best investigators money could buy. Within 72 hours, they had answers. Marcus Hale, Lincoln's former business partner. A man Lincoln had trusted completely until a bitter falling out over company direction 3 years before Delilah's death. Marcus had been pushed out, losing millions in projected earnings. The investigators found everything. Security footage from a storage facility showing Marcus meeting with an electrician. The same electrician later hired to inspect Lincoln's home before the fire. Bank transfers, encrypted messages on a recovered hard drive, a burn phone registered to a fake name that pinged near Lincoln's house the night of the fire. Marcus had orchestrated everything. The fire, the staged deaths. He'd paid someone to kidnap the twins and dispose of them. A plan that fell apart when his hired accomplice got cold feet and abandoned the babies near the diner instead of following through with something darker. For 4 years, Marcus watched from the shadows, ensuring the secret stayed buried, until Lincoln walked into Moonlight Diner. The rusted sedan belonged to Marcus's cousin, a man with a criminal record now facing charges as an accessory. Federal agents arrested Marcus at his penthouse in Manhattan. He didn't resist. The evidence was overwhelming. Katie watched the news report in her apartment, Aria and Mila asleep against her sides, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safety. The legal proceedings moved faster than Katie expected. Lincoln's attorneys worked with state social services, presenting the full story: the crime, the rescue, Katie's exemplary care. No one questioned her integrity. Instead, the judge called her heroic. The court granted Lincoln joint legal custody while fully recognizing Katie as the girl's guardian and mother. Her rights were protected. Expanded, even. "You're a family now," the family court judge said simply. "The law will reflect that." Katie stood outside the courthouse, overwhelmed when Lincoln approached. "I need to show you something." They drove to Moonlight Diner. Katie frowned when she saw construction equipment parked outside. "Lincoln, what?" "I bought it," he said quietly. "The building, the business, everything." Katie's heart stopped. "What?" "Frank was planning to retire anyway. I made him an offer he called stupidly generous." Lincoln turned to face her. "The diner stays exactly as it is. Same name, same menu, same heart. But upstairs, I'm renovating the apartments. Real bedrooms for the girls, an actual kitchen, space to breathe." Tears blurred Katie's vision. "Why?" "Because you built a universe out of nothing," Lincoln said softly. "Now let me help you expand it." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter from Brookhaven Community College and a check with more zeros than Katie had ever seen. "Nursing school," Lincoln said. "Part-time, full ride, with a stipend, so you never have to choose between your dreams and your daughters again." Katie collapsed against him, sobbing into his shoulder while he held her steady. 1 year later. Moonlight Diner glowed warmly against the evening snow. Inside, regulars still filled the booths, but now there were fresh flowers on every table and new equipment in the kitchen. Katie wore scrubs under her coat. She'd just finished a clinical rotation at Brookhaven General. Nursing school was brutal, but she loved every exhausting minute. Aria and Mila sat in their booth, now 6 years old, coloring pictures for their classroom's art show. Lincoln sat beside them, helping Mila spell butterfly, while Aria explained her entire drawing's backstory in elaborate detail. Frank worked the grill part-time, claiming retirement was boring. Katie slid into the booth, and Lincoln's hand found hers beneath the table. "Girls," he said, his voice suddenly nervous, "I need to ask your mom something important." Aria and Mila looked up, eyes wide. Lincoln pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Katie's breath caught. "I'm not good with speeches," Lincoln said, his voice rough with emotion. "But I know that 4 years ago I lost everything, and somehow, impossibly, I found something better. Not a replacement, something new, something real." He opened the box, revealing a simple, beautiful ring. "Katie Rowan, will you marry me?" Before Katie could answer, Mila shouted, "Say yes, Mommy!" Aria clapped her hands. "Please say yes!" Katie laughed through tears, nodding frantically. "Yes, yes, of course, yes!" Lincoln slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her while their daughters cheered, and Frank rang the bell behind the counter, announcing free pie for everyone. Later that night, after the celebration quieted and the girls fell asleep upstairs in their new bedrooms, Katie and Lincoln sat in the same corner booth where everything began. Rain fell outside, gentle this time, not violent. The same rhythm that had brought 2 babies into her life now felt like a lullaby. "Do you ever think about how different things could have been?" Katie asked softly. Lincoln laced his fingers through hers. Every day, but I don't regret the path that led here. Katie leaned against his shoulder, watching rain streak the windows. There was no fear now. No loneliness, no unanswered questions. Just a family, whole, united, stitched together by love, loss, and the stubborn refusal to give up on each other. "We made it," Katie whispered. Lincoln kissed the top of her head. "We did." And outside, the Moonlight Diner sign flickered warmly in the rain, a beacon for anyone lost in the storm, a reminder that sometimes the most broken things become the most beautiful. Sometimes love finds you in the wreckage, and sometimes it stays.
Thank you for watching Life in Stories. If Katie and Lincoln's journey moved you, please like this video and subscribe for more inspiring tales. Share this story with someone who needs hope today. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Until next time, keep believing in beautiful endings.